New Hampshire is one of those states that most people, aside from the residents, probably don't think about often, if at all. But I think it's one of the more interesting places a person could choose to live, so why not explore some of its communities? In this video, we're focusing on the places with the lowest median household incomes, according to the Census Bureau. According to usafacts.org, New Hampshire has the ninth highest percentage of residents with at least a bachelor's degree, which translates to New Hampshire having a higher median household income and a lower poverty rate than most states. So even though these are the poorest places in the state, most of them are still doing better than the United States averages in several categories. Number 7. Newmarket. In Newmarket, those with a 4-year degree account for 53.3% of the adult population over the age of 25. That's compared to the national rate of 34.3% and the New Hampshire rate of 39%. You can see the higher education rate reflected in the economy, with 9.14% of the employed residents working in the professional, scientific, and technical services category. Based on the occupations listed on the last census, it looks like that would be the architects, engineers, and mathematicians. However, the 3 largest industries in Newmarket are actually healthcare at 18.8%, manufacturing at 11.8%, and accommodation and food services at 11.7%. Newmarket's median household income, while $2,700 below the New Hampshire median, is about $13,000 higher than that of the United States, so just 6.1% of the approximately 5,800 residents fall below the poverty line. Also, according to U.S. News, New Hampshire is the safest state in the nation for 2024, and Newmarket reflects that. They only reported 55 crimes on the last FBI report, and their crime rate is 75% lower than the national average. Number 6. Derry. This community is nicknamed Spacetown because its claim to fame is being the birthplace of astronaut Alan Shepard. But he's not the only famous resident Derry has had. The poet, Robert Frost, lived on a farm in the area for almost a decade. The farm is now registered as a National Historic Landmark, and it's open to the public for tours. According to the Census Bureau, Derry is a town, not a city, with a population of 34,317, but for some reason, they list the Derry census-designated place as just the central part of the town, extending out west to Hampstead, and includes the village of East Derry for a population of 22,879. Derry reported 41 violent crimes and 283 property crimes on the last report, so the chance of becoming a victim is just 1 in 106. The 3 largest industries in Derry are manufacturing, healthcare, and retail, but they also have a large number of people working in educational services, professional scientific and technical services, and construction, so the economy in this community is fairly well-rounded. The median household income in Derry is $83,750, and the poverty rate is 9.9%. Number 5. Exeter. Exeter is a historic community, with the first European settlers arriving in 1638. This group was comprised of an exiled Puritan clergyman named John Wheelwright and 175 other people he brought with him from Massachusetts. I suppose that makes Wheelwright the original masshole, as New Hampshire residents call those who come from Massachusetts. In those days, the settlers mostly lived off the land, hunting, fishing, raising cattle, that sort of thing, and they established the first gristmill in the area. More settlers moved in and started a sawmill, so lumber and shipbuilding became part of the economy. By the 1820s, manufacturers were making cotton textiles, shoes, carriages, and all kinds of products. Today, manufacturing still makes up 8.91% of the workforce, but it's not in the top 3 industries. 11% of the employed residents work as healthcare providers, which seems high to me, but Exeter has a highly educated populace, with 48.1% of the adult residents over 25 having earned a college degree. In total, 23.7% of the workforce is in healthcare in general, making it the largest industry in Exeter. The other 2 largest industries are educational services and retail. Only 7.4% of the residents fall below the poverty line, and the median household income is $79,813. Exeter reported 13 violent crimes and 94 property crimes, so it's safer than 82% of U.S. cities. With a population of 10,109, that puts the chance of becoming a victim at 1 in 151. Number 4. Somersworth. This community of 12,192 sits on the Salmon Falls River, which marks the border between New Hampshire and Maine. With its proximity to the river, Somersworth became known as a mill town, with both gristmills and sawmills popping up. In the 1820s, a textile company called the Great Falls Manufacturing Company was established in Somersworth. It was one of the largest employers in the area for 100 years, but then it was affected by the 1922 New England textile strike, and then the industry, for the most part, relocated to the southern states where the cotton was being grown. In 2003, some of the old mill buildings went up in flames as the result of arson. Today, the largest industry in Somersworth is still manufacturing, with almost 20% of the employed residents working in that field, but now they produce things like electric meters. The other two largest industries are healthcare and retail, but they also have plenty of their residents working in other fields, such as public administration and finance and insurance. With this being a mostly blue-collar town, the median household income is about $15,000 lower than the New Hampshire median, but it's slightly above that of the U.S. at $75,841, and the poverty rate is 8.7%. Somersworth reported 245 property crimes, but just 11 violent crimes. That means that their overall crime rate is only 9% lower than the national average, but the violent crime rate is 76% below the national average. Number 3. Rochester. This community of 33,519 calls itself the Lilac City. The way the story goes, in 1750, lilacs were brought over from Europe and placed at the governor's Wentworth Coolidge mansion. In 1919, the purple lilac was adopted as the state flower. Then, in 1984, former Governor John Sununu founded the Governor's Lilac and Wildflower Commission to promote the growth of lilacs around the state. He wanted to, quote, purpleize New Hampshire. In the warmer months, Rochester becomes covered in the purple flowers, and one of the largest public lilac groves is located there on Route 108. The intense focus on a particular flower might lead one to believe that landscaping and agriculture might make up a large portion of the jobs available, but in actuality, the three largest industries in Rochester are manufacturing, healthcare, and retail. Some of the largest employers are Frisbee Memorial Hospital, Albany International, Rochester Manor, Next Phase Medical Devices, and stores like Market Basket, Lowe's, and the Home Depot. Because there are so many jobs in low-paying sectors, the median household income is lower than both the state and national medians at $74,882, and the poverty rate is 9.8%. Number 2. Milford. The town of Milford had a population of just over 16,000 at the time of the 2020 census, but for some reason I don't quite understand, the Census Bureau seems to like to cut towns in New Hampshire into smaller segments, so the census designated place for Milford is the town center, and around 9,200 people live in that area. Anyone looking for a safe place to call home might be interested in Milford. On the last FBI crime report, they listed just 7 violent crimes and 57 property crimes. That makes their overall crime rate 83% lower than the national average, with the chance of becoming a victim at just 1 in 256, and Milford is safer than 91% of American cities. New Hampshire is nicknamed the Granite State, and Milford is the Granite Town because it was once home to several granite quarries. However, that industry is no longer a large part of the economy in this area. The three largest industries today are retail at 16.3%, manufacturing at 14.5%, and healthcare at 12.9%. Another 8.99% work in accommodation and food services, so about 1/4 of the workers in this town are making low wages, which brings the median household income down to $71,065, which is almost $20,000 below the state's median. However, this does not translate to a higher poverty rate. Only 7.6% of Milford's residents fall below the poverty line, so they're doing better than both the state and national rates in that category. Number 1. Franklin. Set in the central part of the state, Franklin is a small city of 8,790. It was settled back in 1764 under a name that I would probably butcher if I tried to pronounce it. The name was changed in 1820 to honor Benjamin Franklin. This too, like many other communities on this list, was known as a mill town thanks to its location on the Merrimack River, but that has changed since then. The two largest industries in Franklin now are retail and healthcare. The third largest industry, with 9.93% of the workforce, is public administration. Franklin is located about 20 miles away from the state capital of Concord, so there are some state employees who commute from this city. Remember when I said earlier that New Hampshire residents are more likely to have a college degree? Franklin is one exception to that. Their rate of college degree attainment is about half that of the state's at 19.9%. Add to that, 9.5% of the adults over the age of 25 in this community did not graduate from high school. When you combine that with all of the low-wage jobs in this area, it drags the median household income down to $66,942. However, their poverty rate is almost half that of the national rate at just 6.3%. Franklin is safer than 72% of U.S. cities, with the chance of becoming a victim at 1 in 86. They only listed 8 violent crimes and 95 property crimes on the last FBI report, so that gives them a violent crime rate that is 76% below the national average. So, what are your thoughts on New Hampshire? Would you consider moving there? It seems that even their worst communities are still quite a bit better than many other places across the country. Plus, New Hampshire residents are close to the ocean, mountains, and lakes, so outdoorsy people would get along just fine there. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, I think you'll like my other one on New Hampshire that's up on the screen now. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I remain stuck in the cornfield.